Rolling.
All right.
Economic Development Committee, October 28th.
2021. We gotta throw that in there. So we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 6:01. So thanks everybody for coming, and thanks for those at home watching us. I'm sure there's lots of people gonna be paying attention to this riveting meeting.
Don't oversell.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Mike. I pride myself on good meetings. Anyway, we'll go ahead and call this to order and go through the agenda. So we're going to do the minutes approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a motion to approve from Ted Connors.
I'll second that.
Mike, you should have spoke sooner.
No.
Ken got the second, so Ken, nice job. Okay, so all in favor of approving? Bob, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We're doing that, and I know we are technically under quorum right now. A few people, Brandon, I know, said he was coming, and I think any. That's the only other one. So we're waiting on Brandon for the quorum, so we may have to re-vote on that, but whatever we gotta do. We're gonna keep moving. So business appreciation event debrief, old business. We're gonna jump right into that. Anybody wanna jump in, or do you want me to give a quick synopsis? Or?
Yeah, you gotta get over people
We had-
work into that.
We had, well, I want to give credit to Karen and Judy Miamis that really organized it. Everybody else did contribute and spent their time with us that evening, so it was very nice. Great event. We had about 49 or 50 attendees. We had outreach to many, many more that did. Many of them didn't show up, but we still had about 49 or 50 folks that did. Out of that came a real nice interaction with the Bernie and Phil's folks, and we've got some nice traction going with them, hopefully making them happy to be in Newington. And so that's good. We had a bunch of other folks in from the mall. We had Rocky Mountain Electric represented.
In your packets, I
There's
gave
a
a
list.
list of
Okay.
the confirmed, the people that confirmed and then who attended.
So do we want to read that off, or are we just good to go? Okay, so that's that.
It's just more informational.
Sure.
Well, I'd just say that it's important that we have this level of turnout. I think it speaks well, not only for the committee's efforts, but this is really about recognizing these businesses, and we should publicize all of the businesses that came. That, you did an excellent job with that article. We'll get to talking about it, Karen, on the event. But I would suggest if we include a listing in that of all the businesses that were represented, because we just had a wonderful cross section of our businesses, from the biggest to the smallest. I mean,
And the goal of our committee is to recognize and acknowledge the businesses to help, hopefully, make them want to stay, make them want to increase their footprint here, or they're hiring, or whatever it is that they're going to do here in town. And also, possibly to bring in new prospective town business community members. So that's what we were trying to do. That's what we accomplished. That's part of our mandate, and that's why we're in this space. So,
one question I have with regards to that, Mike made an excellent point. Can we add the list that you have of the businesses to the minutes? So it was already be part of the official meeting?
just take the ones that attended.
Yeah.
Don't, this is for our own purposes, knowing said they were coming and didn't show, so we can reconcentrate on quick on them.
Great.
But we had just a broad spectrum of people, you know, when you have C3, Dr. Mitchell's, you know, you really pull it together.
Okay, so we'll move on from that, assuming there's no other comments. Retail sector update from Alicia Pasconi, but she's.
Well, I do have some things
Oh, go
to
ahead.
say about this. I think we need to do a lessons learned. I mean, it went great, but there were a lot of hiccups along the way that we could avoid in the future. So I'd like to see the working group that worked on the event with Judy and the rest of us, and we should get together, we should, you know, for half an hour, we can do it by Zoom or whatever, but, we should get together, and we should, and pick out good things too, I mean, things that went right, it's not just all about negatives, but I mean, you know, we obviously were on a seesaw, too many people, not enough people, all that, it's things we could do to, you know, to help with that. And part of it relates to, you know, building on what we did, getting all these names into the mailing, you know, the listserv, the communication people, so that, but we also saw the value of individually reaching out to people.
100%. It definitely showed that people really don't RSVP. You know, as you reached out, they're like, oh, yeah, no, I got that, I'm coming.
And,
Yeah. And you just say thank you, and you're like, could you let me know?
but we can deal with that by assigning, if we had an overall, I'm kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but one of the things we could do, if we had an overall listing of really all the businesses, not just what we happen to have had on that one list,
Yeah.
which we, you know, learned didn't have everybody we needed, then we could divide them up between the committee for purposes of pre-contact, for example. I mean, Jeff set a great example there, with the effort that he made, and, you know, it inspired some of the rest of us to get out there and knock on a few doors, and Martha got on the horn, and, you know, it produced some warm bodies that we were glad to see. Turned out they were glad to see us. Sorry,
Oh, gosh.
prolong this.
No.
I mean, we put a lot of work into this.
And one of the things that did come out of it, I'm just now seeing that we've got some information about feedback from the business folks that came out of
The
that meeting.
questionnaire thing, I think, was really successful.
Did you get any, photograph to you or
No.
all those,
They all came up to the town apparently, so nobody texted to me, but one of the good ones I
I
see
think
here
they
is,
were made out there.
I see one good one is that there's a lot of poison ivy on Old Post Road, and we should take care of that. But,
Yeah, we have a member of the committee that's a business owner on Old Post Road.
oh, is that right?
It's possible she used that vehicle to communicate with us.
Could be.
It's not fair to her, she's not here, she wasn't able to be here. She contributed a lot.
All right, Ted, Bob?
I think it went well, I think the people really, you folks really put your shoulders to the grindstone to get the people out, and it was a credit, the people there are very social, and they talked freely and commented how they enjoyed it, and how they work with the town. We found a few things, we corrected a few things, we helped Bernie and Phil, but they were on the way to get some signing there, Jeff Boswell, Martha's been on top of that, so it turned out some good positives.
When will Newington own Woodbury Ave?
We're waiting for a punch list to be complete with the state. We're almost there. They have about 3 or 4 items left in their traffic light work that has to be done. Once that is done, then the selectmen will approve it and accept it. So we're almost there.
So is it like 6 months almost, or is that like 2 weeks almost, or what is
Well,
almost?
the town's preference would be to have the state continue to plow.
We'll pay for the plow, Mike.
Yeah.
We already
We
take
already
away
did.
the plow, that's the big thing.
Well,
Spring?
there's no hidden agenda.
And I believe we need a deed and a plan, so it could be a little bit longer. It could be a few months.
Okay.
But at least they'll know that we're working on it. I have not communicated with
I
them.
have.
Great.
I communicated with them, so I let them know that we had it moving, and
But can't the state allow us to act on this, well, pending that?
I
If it's
could-
gonna be us that they don't wanna do it, they say we can do it, they say we should do it.
Let Martha and I take it under advisement.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I mean, I realize, you know,
Mike
there's
and
a lot
I,
of negotiations with the state
Yeah.
on many things, so.
Mike and I will just make up some signs and we'll go put them up. And a 6-pack.
Maybe I can get I have one big squash that's still hardening off, and maybe we could put it on that.
Okay, so, before I get us into real trouble,
Yeah, I'm not helping you.
so, Alicia's not present, so we'll get the retail center update next time around. Budget update 22, that's gonna be from Martha. So Martha, do you mind giving us the budget update? And,
The committee has your budget in your packet, and you're doing fine at 8,800 spent as of this last week. Your budget for next year is at 14,610, as you know. The event was 3368 of your 5,000 allocated. And you have therefore cut your 2022 budget in marketing to 4,000 to more adequately reflect what it costs for an event like that. Are there any questions about the budget or the proposed 22 budget?
One, it's not a question, but in connection with, the presentation of the budget to the selectmen, Jeff, took the lead and prepared a very extensive, in anticipation of what he's did last year at year end, a very extensive, description of the committee's activities, and there were some comments on that I think were acceptable to Jeff. But could that get finalized by Karen or you? And can we get it out to the rest of the committee so they see this? They've never seen that.
A statement that Jeff did?
Yeah, the summary for the year, we brought it to the selectmen's meeting, but
It was very, very comprehensive.
It was a-
Well done.
it was it's a lot of.
You read it, but I don't know that we got a copy.
Well, it was emailed around, and you were on the emails, I'm sure you were, but I can make sure you get it, don't worry, I'll check that tomorrow.
Okay.
But I believe both of you were on the emails.
Thank you,
but-
yes.
But, and can we also have, this relates to, you know, we only have 20 minutes in this budget meeting, so we wanna get in as much material to help the budget committee understand what we do and, you know, how we spend money. So I think it would be helpful if you did an addendum, Martha, particularly on the personnel lines, so that it's understood, you know, that we moved away from the consultant, the only money we spend on a consultant had already been spent by time that, our consultant, Jerry Coogan, had put in December, so before we ever even went to the budget committee. But also, you know, what we're gonna do, how that line item's gonna break out, how those line items I've gone to 3 of these now, and if there's one thing we've learned, we don't tell them, they don't know,
Okay,
you know? I mean,
we'll get together.
Martha, can you give us an update on the website? And you remember the young lady that worked for us when we first started? Is there a person doing that work, maintenance and caring? We're very fortunate now. So it's still up to date, it gets reposted, that's wonderful.
well, but there was an, I missed the bad news, I guess, but I'm gonna keep it up. It was, I mean, that's true. Karen led the charge and worked on the website in the beginning of, at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. But one of the things we were gonna do was measure hits and, you know, why we're getting them and how we could get more and all of that. And that's not something that Karen could do.
Right, that's civic.
But that whole piece has not been done. And I think you had a recollection on that about,
Yes, so what I recall from that committee meeting where this issue came up was that there were some options, such as contracting with Google to get more hits to the website. And I believe it was Brandon who said at the time, he knew of another contractor that would be less expensive than Google to do that work. I could certainly reach out to him and find out who that was.
yeah,
Yeah, so he didn't, set that ball in motion, because I thought that's what the conversation was that day, that he was gonna make those connections and start it happening, but maybe it didn't happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's,
I'm not sure, but we can definitely follow up on it now.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
no.
Okay, so Karen will be updating us now on the Seacoast Economic Development Roundtable.
the meetings, now that the grant has been submitted, the meetings kind of like took a step down and everyone took a deep breath because it was so busy trying to work on details of this Build Back Better grant. But now they're looking at what the committee is gonna focus on, as a group, what speakers to bring in, and we all actually are kind of tasked with looking at the regional master plans, for our areas, to see what we can pick out of that we think would help our community, what we really wanna focus on. We have to bring that back to the next meeting and then see if there's any commonality, that the group will kind of focus on something as a whole. But one of the interesting things that came up at the last week or the week before is that New Hampshire Health is not going to permit any more hospital beds in New Hampshire. And it was kind of discussed as the group because that is an economic development impact. That no more hospital beds can impact even quality of life. You know, people aren't gonna move into areas if it's not if there aren't adequate hospitals. And other people, some of the committee was gonna kind of dig deep into why that decision was even made, and if it's a decision that's cast in stone.
That seems insane.
Yeah,
I mean, the Department of Health and Human Services routinely does economic analysis on how many beds you need, because if you have too many, then the cost of healthcare goes up. So, no, but if you need them, you know, you need lead time on beds. I mean, clearly, I mean, they don't have enough mental health beds, that's widely known.
it was really surprising,
Yeah,
when that
I'm
brought it
just,
forward, we were all like, what?
yeah, I just don't think it's as simplistic as, you know, they're not allowing any more beds. They have add more beds, you have to go through a process and be approved by the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services. And that process involves a consideration of whether there are adequate beds already in the area to serve the community, wherever it is. And, you know, it doesn't sound like in the North Country there are enough beds, but maybe,
Right,
you
yeah.
know,
I didn't know enough
I don't
about the topic.
I mean, with COVID, you
It's
can't
just
measure any of this with COVID going on. It's not a normal time, right?
Well, interesting that in New Hampshire, we used to have something called certificate of need.
Right.
And then I think that went away.
Yeah.
So this may be their way of, since that went away, instead I was approving new beds, the certification process is being used for the same purpose, to limit the number of beds. It's kind of interesting, because I didn't think that originally was the purpose of the licensing. I thought if you had the beds, there's no reason why you couldn't get licensed, unless you couldn't staff them. It may have something with staffing too, because they're having staffing issues. It's an interesting subject, I'd like to know more about it myself.
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd be, if we get involved in that, you'd be a great resource, because I think you've got the perspective on the industry.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Do you, is there some way to follow up on that item?
I can ask again next Tuesday and see what it's every Tuesday.
Karen, have you been able to go to these? I don't
It's
see your
all-
name in the minutes.
Sometimes I've missed a couple, not a lot.
Yeah,
But they're telephone meetings.
yeah, no, I know. Yeah, could we, Martha, take a look at whether there can be an alternate or somebody that, if Karen's
Oh,
not
they
able
could.
to go?
Yeah.
Somebody that could cover
Absolutely.
this?
Sure.
Because, you know, I saw in one of them where, you know, they're talking like, they mentioned Newington specifically, like we were, one of the lesser towns that actually this would be important to.
Right, that was when they were doing the letters, the support
Right.
letters.
Yeah, well, we came
Yeah.
through on that.
We
with
did, to
the
focus
letter.
more on specifically Newington.
Thanks.
All right. Report on the conference call with Taylor Caswell. And that's gonna be.
Your meeting is where all the action is, because our meetings have turned to, they're phone meetings, and they've turned to about 5 to 10 minute affairs. And usually commissioner will make a statement, and that'll be it. It's gone down from what it was at the beginning, where there was a lot of activity going back and forth. Now, the last meeting, they talked about, the deadline for the BB program is imminent. It's not already passed. BEA is supportive of efforts related to the program, some of which include the Seacoast Cedar, the Vermont New Hampshire Renewable Energy Project by Godly Community Investment, and Manchester related to Good Jobs Challenge. That's all. I don't know if you come into any of those in your end of things, but that's all he said. And then he talked about GNC approved the 90-10 match up to $50,000 for communities to purchase emergency equipment. You know anything about that at all? A lot of it doesn't refer to us. We don't qualify for a lot of things, it seems. So I don't know.
I mean, that's governor and council.
Yeah.
I mean, we potentially, you know, it's community, so.
Yeah.
we might-
What kind of emergency equipment?
That's all he said. No one asked the question, I suppose I could have
No,
asked the question at the time, but. And then he said there's an MOU between BEA and the New Hampshire Small Business Development Center, was approved on October 13th. Once again, I don't know whether you talked about that in your meeting or not. And BEA predicts 3.2 million visitors traveling to the state to see fall foliage. And that's about it. So, you know, I don't, some talk about whether these are necessary or not, so I'm not sure where we're going with it. Because it just doesn't seem to be doing anything. I mean, the meeting you go to, those minutes are great. You get a real good view of what's going on. How long do those meetings last? About an hour?
1 hour, 9 to 10.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
good.
what they're actually doing now too, and I can send the link out to the committee, so that anyone can listen to the recording.
Awesome.
So I have,
Questions? Commercial development update, I think that's typically been submitted by John Krebs.
Yeah, he did, I emailed him, he got back to me, and I talked with him again today too, but there was no update this time. He said Stoneface is going through the process, but that's not new information.
Maybe, Martha or Ted say something about the meeting, you guys had with Northeast Credit Union.
Martha and I invited the president and the vice president of Northeast Credit in here one morning to have coffee with us, and we just went over the thing. They have not made a decision. The president has only been here for a few months from Florida, doesn't know the geography very well. It was very well received. He thanked us profusely for inviting him. And then we read last week that Northeast was rated top credit union in New Hampshire, I believe it was. So we sent them a letter and a note on that, and they got back to us right off. Thank you very much. And, you know, so we're keeping communications open and trying to stroke them a little bit to come our way.
where is their home office now?
It's, on Gloucester Avenue, I believe, it's right across from the Liberty Mutual, Boston Hospital, that road there, it's at the end, they got,
Across from the fish place.
yeah, Blue Fisher, the old Blue Fisher.
Oh, okay, so that's their home office, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought that was just a local site.
no,
Sounds like they've outgrown that.
yeah.
Oh, they
And Mike was at the meeting with us also that day to go off, and it was, you know, it was just great to have Mike there from the perspective of a government official, representing EDC, but I mean, it went over well, I think.
Did they pay to take down that old building that was there? They paid for that already, so they got something invested in this already.
They paid for the land.
Yeah.
They did. I think they're just, you know, like everybody else, that once you go through COVID, with the, you know, potential change and how many people going to an office, everything else, they're this new guy, he's able to be able to say, hey, let's step back and take a look at this and see whether, you know, this is, but they seemed excited about really because apparently they've got 3 different locations in Portsmouth, so, where they have so many management people in, because they don't have enough room in Portsmouth.
So this was all online until COVID came along, right? They were going right along?
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah,
seemed like.
it seemed like, yeah, that they bought the land and they had that kind of for a few years now, and demolition.
So they cleared it, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
they have no approval for the town, they have not submitted, I don't believe, they haven't submitted plans or anything yet. So the planning board, well aware of it, was not, we thought we'd go out front and propose it.
All right, e-news articles?
You have to draft newsletter.
So again, I just suggest
Right,
you
we'll add
add
that
the
to it.
listing of the, it doesn't have to be, you know, 20 type of thing. You've got some white space there that you can get into.
When will that be available online?
As soon as it's finished and the board's approved it.
I want to tell the 3 that I visited, that it was online, they can look at it. So.
Yeah, it goes online and it gets emailed out to the whole list as well.
And then, we should take, you know, in the proud tradition of the committee, of not reinventing the wheel, and keeping our residents informed.
Martha has already done that, to take part of it for the new newsletter.
Of which one?
Of this, So the appreciation event would be a
Yeah.
highlight in the town newsletter, if
Yeah.
that's all right with the committee?
Yeah, great, we had, terrific. And, I think we can do that with, Bob's article too. I mean, if you wanna wait till next month, you can, but I think we should use the lead-in, you know, work up a lead-in, like there are, you know, many, in addition to, you know, our retail, commercial, you know, industrial, and
Newington has a strong
businesses, we
medical
have a
presence.
growing number of medical, businesses locating in Newington because of the location, proximity to other medical facilities, in the, seacoast, and that, this is the first of, two articles, right? Because you're gonna have another one at some point when the other place opens, and you can add the other places. You can see it's, you know, that idea you had of doing it in installments, I think it's good.
Great, okay.
So we, you know, you just get a different introduction for the residents, because different audience.
Yeah, just keep the word out, what we're doing. Okay, we'll move on to the joint meeting with the planning board debrief. I guess-
We were welcome with open arms, that was for sure.
We had a nice meeting with them, we had a good conversation. We were able to convey a few ideas that seemed to be of interest to everybody, and specifically about the tax incentive program that might be for all new construction, not at all affecting current buildings or anything else, just as an incentive for businesses to locate here, expand here. That property tax incentive would help, you know, nail down or give an incentive, hence why it's called a tax incentive, for people to expand their businesses here in town. And both, a couple of people on the planning board and Mr. Krebs mentioned that they would be open to listening to anything that was proposed. So that was, I thought, good headway.
Excellent.
Thank you.
What do you think was the most tangible thing we get out of that meeting? Can we nail it down in any way? I mean, I'm just trying to think back on the meeting now. Is there anything, any kind of agreements that we came to, or, I just can't remember.
No,
There was,
there was no true agreement. There was no nothing. It was more just to extend an olive branch and make sure that we were trying to work collaboratively. But there was no agreement or anything that, I'm not sure that we would ever get that.
Well,
Because, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe Mike sees it a different way.
I don't think that was the purpose of the meeting.
I
don't think we went in with some proposal or something that, hey, can we work together on this? I think it was important that we first got to where we could be in, you know, we've been trying to get in one room and be able to communicate for months. And we were able to do that, and as Ted said, we were very well received. And we were asked questions which we gave us an opportunity to respond to in terms of people understanding that our role, you know, isn't to replace the planning board or be the planning board or anything like that. I think the task ahead of us is to come up with things where, you know, we could work collaboratively with them on a particular initiative.
I'm wondering if we could have set up some kind of liaison between us and them. And maybe one thing we could do is sort of find ways to look at getting on their agenda and they could work the ways of getting our agenda, make some kind of connection that we didn't make. We made the introduction, that's what we planned to do. But I think we need to follow up with something which, connects us a little bit more.
Well, in the past, the way that was being done when this committee first started was that the town planner was working with both
I know that.
committees. And one of the,
Budget cuts.
well, I don't know whether it was a cut, but one of the original questions that, or, when we were pressed that they wanted topics, one of the topics was whether the town planner, whether we could get back to where the town planner was working with both of us and serving as that liaison. And certainly the town planner, from his comments at the meeting, was open to what the committee, what we do. We'd be, it's a different town planner than it was back when this committee started, but John certainly seemed open to that, but it would require adjustment of the budget. We'd have to pay for some of his time. It can't be, and he'd have to have the time, which I know is, maybe a question. And the planning board would have to want to do that. And we've been told previously, the town planner's been told that he really shouldn't be spending time with us. So we'd have to get over that. And it's too bad maybe we didn't discuss that then. But it was listed as a potential topic. That was one of the topics that it came back that they didn't want to focus on at that time. And they said maybe for a follow-on meeting, so it's maybe very timely with this.
All right,
It was great when you had Chris Cross at a meeting recently.
Oh, yeah, they've been great at coming to meetings. I mean, there's been a planner, probably at almost every meeting, that we've had. That's been welcome. I don't know, you wanna go to a lot of planning board meetings?
No,
You could be our man.
I wonder if in the other towns, is there a working relationship between the two? It's kind of a natural thing, or is it conflict between the two?
Yeah, I think we went over this before, but Aaron Wenham told us, he's the economic development director in Exeter.
Yeah.
He came and spoke to the board. I'm not sure whether, that might have been one of the few meetings you missed, but, he basically said that they're often in conflict.
Okay,
Karen
but
Muller had said the same thing.
okay, but there must be some model somewhere. You find a town perhaps, I don't know, Rochester or wherever, where they're working together. Go look for the model that works and kind of look into that and see how they're doing it. That's,
That's a great idea, Bob, we should do that.
we'll do that.
All right, awesome, thank you for taking that on.
I knew what my mouth was gonna get, I didn't care.
No, I mean, it's a lot of work done on this committee, and, we appreciate that somebody would volunteer to do it. Okay?
To me, that's, to make any sense out of all of our activities here, we've got to get a little bit more linked in with the planning board. So I'm quite interested in finding somewhere or someplace where they do that, and then bringing that model to the committee.
That's fantastic,
So,
thank you, I appreciate it.
Just so you're not surprised, it's better to say this now than after you do a lot of work and then somebody says, oh, there's this obstacle. One of the issues that exists relates to the statutory duty of the planning.
mhm.
They're not designated by statute to handle economic development in the community. And the reason they're not is because they have the obligation to hear applications
Yeah.
and to be dispassionate.
Yeah.
And not be a cheerleader for some project that
Yeah.
comes before.
Yeah.
think, for example, I mean, there's an obvious one in this town. We've got a major undeveloped area that's properly zoned for industrial and maritime development across the street from Patterson Lane residences. If the planning board were involved in encouraging activity on that parcel and then tried to sit as a neutral board hearing it and approving it, those residents would quite properly feel that the planning board was prejudiced against the project. And if they could establish that in court, which wouldn't be too hard, if you work and have private meetings with people outside, things that, we are trying to do to reach out, like this Northeast Credit Union meeting. That's the job of this one. That's why they do it. But if the planning board did that, any decision to approve the project or disapprove it is gonna get challenged. And it's gonna get tied up in court and cost the town a bunch of money, and we're not gonna get the project.
And I understand why I have to keep that separation. On the other hand, I still think if somebody's doing it differently and it's working, we should find out out.
Sure,
Absolutely.
sure.
Now, let me ask you, on the planning groups around the area, who has the contacts for those people? Do you have the contact for?
Sure,
All of
and
them?
we also have the contacts for what towns have economic development committees or
Okay.
commissions.
Why don't you and I talk about that, okay?
Bob, the other resource for you is John Krebs. John Krebs was, worked for our town planner.
Uh-huh.
He worked for the regional planning agency for a number of years.
Uh-huh.
He knows all of the planners, he's very active in the planning community, so I think he could help you too.
Yeah.
And again, I think we're gonna be better off if we can, involve him in any of that as
Okay.
part of the go-to movement.
I'll talk to him too.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking that on, Paul. Moving on to new business, the November and December schedules. Obviously, I think we're gonna be butting into.
What about the continued discussion of the tax
Oh, I'm
incentive?
sorry.
You
Oh,
declared that.
I mentioned it, so I thought that was, but I guess,
He's not gonna let you get away with that.
I guess no. Go
Well,
ahead,
no,
go ahead,
no,
Bill.
I'm just saying, are we gonna make a recommendation, or we not, are we, I heard what you said.
Yeah, no, no.
And you weren't here at the last meeting to say it, so we delayed it so you could say it, but.
Thank you. Yes, so let's have that continued discussion right now, Mike, please. I mean, in all reality, I think it's a good concept to proceed with. What do you see us being able to do as the next step for that, moving that forward?
Well, I don't know, do the selectmen want a recommendation on it, or are they satisfied that us talking about it is enough? If it is, it is.
Well, I think we have to bring it to the voters, so, we're gonna do some field work first and get everybody comfortable, I think. I haven't heard too much, the initial part, when it first came out, there was a lot of excitement, but I haven't heard much discussion about it since then.
Well, then that's my fault, and I'm
No,
sorry.
it's just,
So, I think it's a great idea. Anything that creates the draw or the drive to draw people to town, in my opinion, is a good thing. Especially where it has a sunset to it automatically, that it's gonna end at a given point after, say, 5 years or whatever the time frame is, 5 or 10, as I recall. And we would set that as the town, so we get to determine that. To me, there's only upside in offering that because it's new construction that we don't have now. So, if the selectmen.
I know one meeting here, I'm trying to reflect that, Brandon had some comments on it, which,
Brandon's comments, as I recall, and it's too bad he's not here
Oh,
tonight,
that's it.
but as I recall, they were, we're already a low tax rate town.
right, yeah.
Why do we need to do this? And, well, because we need to get stuff moving quickly, and if you've got an incentive on the table for developers, even if you're a low tax rate town, that will make them wanna move. But, there is the argument that we're already a low price town, why do we have to cut our prices more? The downside is, if we don't, well, actually, the needle is moving to make us not a low price town anymore. The tax rates are going up. If you look at any of our documentation, the master plan, all the other documents say taxes are going up, we're not gonna be at the place we are now, or we have been historically. So I think we need this to get things moving quickly, but other folks
I think,
don't agree.
I don't know, I'm just thinking a lot, maybe put a forum together, 2 or 3 people, and sit down.
And that
and
was
have a meeting.
Judy's idea.
Huh?
That was Judy's idea.
Yeah, and, why don't you and I get together, put 2 or 3 names together,
Yeah.
some day the next week, and get together, see what we can pull together. Check, and,
Okay.
for and against.
You might be able to get, you know, even if you had to pay him as a consultant, you might be able to get Darren Wyndham to participate in that, because Exeter has adopted it, and he said experience.
You know what would be helpful, because it's one thing to say, okay, we're gonna go through the roof, we're just gonna work it for high. Is there any way we could develop a methodology to measure the potential impacts from, you know, the low to the high? And that would kind of frame the discussion a little bit better, because just to say it's gonna be that way and without quantifying that in any manner, it makes it difficult to get people to buy into it. I think we need to know, what are we talking about in terms of the tax rate? What are the potential? What's the disaster case? What's the best possible case? What's most likely?
You mean, what's the disaster case when our taxes go up?
Yeah, I mean, that was,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we
how
can
do you
figure that
define, if this happens, here's what the rate would be. If this happens, then it should be some way to model that.
Oh, I've done that. You didn't see that video?
But did you model it with dollars?
Oh, I put it in there, yeah.
Or go back and look?
I mean, it's, what the tax rates are going up to and how that will affect.
Let me go back and look at that. I'm kind of curious what that, I don't remember it, to be honest with you.
Well, we're gonna get a tax rate this soon, right? I mean,
Any day now.
it's that time of the year
Any day now.
when,
Yes.
when the,
We've submitted it, we're just putting it
I
in.
mean,
passing the state.
you know, we're all just waiting with our checkbooks. with
Yeah,
bated breath. The tax
I
rate.
have a couple of pages left of my check.
No, I mean, hopefully it's not gonna go up a lot, no one wants that, so.
Well, the
We'll
whole
see.
issue of valuation also is big here, because right now we're in a, I don't know if you call it a hyperinflation stage, but, I mean, price of everything, you're looking at any house in New England, and what are they, all going for $1 million now or something like that?
Yeah,
That can't last forever.
I think but it could be, I'll admit to being quite selfish on this, and I tend to look at this issue as, unlike the way I pontificate about many things, you know, saying the business is not being heard. I tend to look at this issue as a resident, and I would say as a resident, that will not be a good thing either, because that is just gonna mean that the residents are paying. Right now, we're in dreamland where, you know, we're in a community where the residents pay under 30% of the total taxes that the town collects. And, you know, I mean, there's a pie chart in the town report that tells you that, and it's very, you know, it's very, but it's been under 30. And, you know, residential values go up. That will lead to a shift, which has already happened in Portsmouth. That's what they're screaming about in Portsmouth. The residents are paying more because they have more of the total valuation of the town, so they're going to pay more in taxes. So you have that going on already, being added, I guess. This is, but the big issue is those plants and their value. I mean, they're utility sector is 50% of the tax base. Some of that is Eversource, you know, for the distribution facilities, but the vast majority of it is those two power plants that are fossil fuel and whose valuation is diminished. And you know, the question is, certainly the assessor could model what would happen, hold everything else, and model what would happen if there was a 10%, 20%, 30% reduction. But I think, I'm not trying to be simplistic here, but when you know it's 50% of your tax base, or 40%, that any kind of reduction there is gonna hit you significantly.
The other part though is this, is that those places, let's say they left, they still got, you can bring a different kind of industry in there.
Yeah.
It's not like it's gonna go away, but.
No, but the land is still gonna have value,
Mhm.
the facilities, we could go look and find out what, Chiller stopped operating, okay, it's even an older plant, right upon the other side of Gosling Road in Portsmouth. So, we could go look and see, well, how did that affect the evaluation when it stopped operating? That would give you an idea of what the residual value is. But repurposing these plants is something we gotta be working on now. You don't, look how long it took for this community to position itself for this type of infrastructure. If to replace that, I can talk to you, talk offline, because it's gonna bore the people at home, but there are ideas about how the plants could get replaced.
Let me ask a hypothetical question. Let's assume with the power plant, that they didn't get their reduction. Would the power plants leave, would they leave the town of Newton?
We're not reducing their, what are you talking about?
Oh, okay, if you don't, say they wanna reduce the value of the plants, right?
Oh, no, under state law, if you don't give it to them, they go to court, and then
Okay, that's what I-
you lose.
That was the question I was asking.
That's how it works.
Okay.
That's going on, that's ongoing. The
Mhm.
state of New Hampshire, which values the same plant we value, has valued it for, like, what, 170,000 less?
Mhm.
Yeah.
170,
No.
no, 170 million,
170 million.
170 million less,
Mhm.
okay?
Right, and then they appealed that and reached a settlement with the state. A little bit.
Right. Maybe I should, I don't know enough about it, so I'll withdraw.
No, I think this is helpful. This isn't simple, But, and we do have to take our head out of the sand about this, because it's always work. Obviously, it's always work. We were even able to sit and let Eversource not develop, over 80 acres of land, put nothing on it for years, because the hope was that could be another site. We could have another, when we first started working on the write-up for the website, one thought was that we'd have a big meeting and how, we're a great place for utility generation. Well, we are, because the grid is, but we gotta figure out a new way to generate it, because global warming is killing the fossil fuel industry. The next thing that's gonna happen is gonna be a big rate shock, because gas has gone way up. That may help us temporarily with the value of the plants, because they're about to announce, they're talking about home heating bills and all that going up, but the same fuel is used for the power plant, so they go back to ISO New England and purchase their power from them, the distributors like Eversource, and it's gonna go temporarily help.
But the valuations don't
Well,
track
it
that.
depends on whether they, no, yeah, I mean, it depends on whether it helps them make more money. If it helps them make more money, it might help a little bit, but it's not the answer. It's I mean, it's a declining, it's just going down, down, down.
Is there a written decision from the, what was said, it's worth $170 million left, something to state? Is there a written decision supporting that decision that's available?
Yeah, I would say that it'll be TRA of it.
Yeah,
We've tried to get the decision from DRA, and they state that they don't have to give it to us, and they don't.
That's crazy, of course they have to, but they're state agency, right?
We can, yes, that would be presumption, but unfortunately, no go. We can't get,
I can't believe we can't get that.
believe me, Bob.
We'll knock on every door up there.
wait a minute. You're making a boogeyman here to be, this is like Newington. You're making a boogeyman to be the state, they're doing it to us. That's not what's, I mention that because it validates what's going on in the entire industry. That's
Yeah, I
why
agree.
Brayton Point is
I agree
closing,
with you.
that's why all these places.
But that decision should be subject to someone looking at it to see how it was made. I mean, is that asking so much?
Well, and I could go on from there, so we certainly have had our assessor review and determine that the value that the town set these power plants at was accurate. The selectmen have even gone so far as to acquire a second opinion before they settled on the rate. So they were very prudent in the way they went about determining the value for these plans. But we can certainly give him
The
things.
appraisal, well, the appraisal that the EP gave to us.
Right.
And what is good to know is that the settlement number is higher than what the professional the town hired told us the value was.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to get a settlement higher than that number.
Is that piece of information available to anybody?
No.
No?
No, we intentionally, through the attorney, only got the information verbally from the appraiser to the attorney so that it would not be discoverable for court.
I'll couch it on the court cases.
You what?
It's court cases, they don't wanna have too much of a trail.
Okay.
Bob, the value of these plans directly related to the amount of time that they run. They'll buy X number of
Okay, so
production hours
that's
from.
the logic behind it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just say,
all right, that
And
makes sense.
and as their online time goes down,
I got you.
the value goes.
That's the secret, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
It has nothing to do with, like, a normal appraisal is like how many tanks you have and how many square feet and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not,
Okay,
it's all income based.
okay, that's what I was looking for, thank you.
Okay.
we're not just because we talk about that it could happen, doesn't mean we want it to happen.
Oh, I understand.
Well, no, but I somehow sometimes get that feeling that because, not from you, but from people that, because we're trying to just say to people, you have to think about this,
Mhm.
that somehow we're a proponent of it happening. We don't want it to happen.
No way.
The selectmen don't want it to
No, I
happen.
can't even imagine anybody would think that, to be honest with you, but, all right, sorry, I haven't got much consulting these days, so I gotta get my edges. Unfortunately, I was
Doing good.
loaded tonight.
No, this is what makes for a good committee.
Yeah, good, great. So you and I get together.
That sounds great. Okay, so now November, December,
Yeah, meeting
Thanks, Sue.
schedule. We would be scheduled to meet on November 25th, which is Thanksgiving.
Nothing wrong with
After
that.
that, maybe we all wanna get out of the house.
So November 18th is the Thursday before, or December 2nd is the one after. And then the fourth Thursday in December, the last Thursday in December is December 23rd.
past, we went with the December date rather than try and jam it in, because we run into problems with other people needing the room, it's been one thing. The only problem with doing that is that our budget committee meeting is December 1st.
Just before Thanksgiving.
That would be the 18th.
Yeah.
And then not have a December meeting, or?
It's important to have the meeting he just talked about, because you wanna get it together before, right, the budget one?
No, the budget one's on the first, and our meeting would be on the second, is what the original
The
date.
budget review committee on November or December 1st.
December first, and we would have our meeting after that, so you're saying we would have,
The meeting ahead of time in November 18th, did you say?
November 18th is the one before.
Then you'd have, a week or so before the budget committee meeting to talk, whatever you all want.
Right, that's 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away.
I'm looking for a motion, I guess.
I'm not gonna make it, because I got a commitment that night, to the propeller club that I made, not realizing that might be a date. Need me to have a meeting. We've had many without it. Might be better meetings.
No way. Do we want to send around a, thing to the rest of the people, either on the committee, or do we want to just make?
Yeah, that's true. We got a bunch of people this time of year, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have to be, we have to be on Thursday night?
Not necessarily.
No, as long as you can juggle the meeting
Yeah.
rooms and all that. It's more work for Martha.
November 17, Wednesday, November 17?
What about like the 23rd of November?
Tuesday. Yeah.
That would be December.
Okay,
Kurt?
so we're gonna go with that?
Tuesday, November 23rd.
Yes.
All right, and I'll send it around to make sure that we'll have enough people.
Yeah, can we make it tentative on getting, we gotta have a quorum. Right now, all the time we've spent here banging away, it's a non-meeting, okay?
Exactly.
But it's great that people put the time in to come and do this. It's well worth it.
So with that said then, and then we won't have a meeting in December.
We have on December first.
Well, that's the budget.
Yeah.
It's not.
No, I.
No, but we might encourage more people to come stand and support